The Art Center inspires creativity and contributes to
community well-being
through equitable access to
and engagement with visual arts.
We collaborate to offer exhibitions,
learning opportunities, artist development,
and cultural events centered on
art, artists, and art enthusiasts in the greater Corvallis area.
Hi, welcome to TAC Makes, a podcast. I'm Jennie Castle, the curator at the Art Center in Corvallis, Oregon. Today, I'm here with Kelsey Hamilton Davis, who is here representing Living Studios. She's been working there for about a year, and today we're going to talk about the Voices from Home project that is currently on exhibit in the Corrine Woodman Gallery. Kelsey, welcome.
Hi, Jennie. Thanks so much for having me.
We're really glad to have you here. Can you start by sharing with our audience a little bit about what Living Studio is and the work that you do there?
Absolutely. So Living Studios is here in Corvallis. We are an art space that is dedicated to supporting adults with neurodiversity and developmental disability. And so what that kind of looks like is creating a space where they can explore their own practices in a way that is accessible for them, with materials and opportunities to show their work. It is also creating opportunity for collaboration and community.
That's wonderful. And how long Living Studios has been in existence here in Corvallis?
Well, so Living Studios is part of a larger nonprofit, Cornerstone Associates here in Corvallis. So it's a bit of a longer question because Cornerstone Associates has existed for many years, and this program has existed in many iterations. But the current iteration, led by Bruce Burris, has been around for about 3 years, I believe. I think it started just before the pandemic, had to pivot in a big way during the pandemic, and has kind of had a revitalization after.
Well, the community, I'm assuming, has maybe not known it, but has seen your art out in the community, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. The sidewalk project, I see like the mending of the cracks in the sidewalk. And I know you've done some work with the Corvallis Museum and Joan Truckenbroad's space. Mm-hmm. So I'm really happy that the Art Center had the opportunity to host you all in the Corrine Woodman. And we're showing an exhibit called Voices from Home, which this is a reimagining of a past project, correct? Yeah.
This is a second iteration of Voices from Home. The first was led by Bruce Burris 25 years ago when he lived in Louisville, Kentucky. So that iteration was right during the transition from institutional living to residential living, and was a way to explore the changes, the advantages, and also the challenges that come along with residential life within this community. This second iteration, I believe he was looking through his archives and it was just like, this is a time to kind of revisit that thought space, because it's been 25 years. There have been some changes, but maybe not as many changes. And we didn't want to bring exactly like a sharp lens, but at least a critical lens to give people the opportunity to share their experiences. What are the highlights of their days? What are the challenges? Where are the tensions laying there? What do they really appreciate having access to? And then what are some of the things that they wish would be different in their lives? Because of course we all live in houses, but this is kind of a particular living arrangement wherein one needs support, but in order to have that support, some compromises need to be made, and what that looks like in the life of an artist.
Yeah, it's a really timely topic. I think that it's timed perfectly for a lot of the conversations that are happening about community and safety and home in our community. So what artists were working on the project with you? How did you find your artists and how did you collaborate with the group?
So we try to include all of our artists that we work with here in the studio, and we have a range of participants. Most participants are with us every day, or at least 3 or 4 days a week for the morning or afternoon. We're part of their job support and day programming that happens through the state, but we also have artists who join us more independently. So it wasn't so much of a finding of artists, but a milling of the community that we have manifested over the last few years, and highlighting those voices that we hear every day and allowing them to share those thoughts with the community.
Well, the exhibition is very dynamic and colorful and immersive. You can walk in there and kind of see a new thing. It will pop out at you every time that you visit. So, I mean, it's a beautiful installation, but there's also a performative aspect to the exhibit that you're hoping people will participate in. Can you talk a little bit about that and why you feel it's so important to the show?
Absolutely. So first, I want to address why we chose to make it more of an immersive installation rather than a few singular pieces. First of which is it's quite a small space. And so when you're working in a small space, I think it's really important to go in one of two directions, to be very minimalist versus maximalist. And if you get anywhere in the middle, it tends to read, I don't know, I think there's a potency that lacks.
Fall flat, right?
Yeah. Fall flat. So I think we were definitely going towards the maximalist aesthetics, and that tends to be what we go for as an artist collective in our aesthetics in general. Because we're working with so many various voices, if we're going in a minimalist direction, we thought that might, limit what we could share.
Yeah, you don't want to silence the voices, right? You want to
exactly. And also, we really wanted to take the opportunity to highlight some of our artists who are making art that might not be, their practice is potentially not fully resolved as an independent work, but is most successful when it's in collaboration with other voices and it's responding to other voices or additive in kind of this building sort of way. And that just doesn't work with minimalism. So we did go towards a fully encompassing immersion experience where you can kind of feel like you're entering an abstracted version of a home space with different objects to explore and thought spaces to explore. And so the pieces that we included were ways of corralling that information, sort of different ways of framing the work that's happening in kind of a continuous production here in the studio. As far as the performance aspect of it, because we were going towards this idea of when you're in this space, you're in this home, and you're exploring these voices, we wanted to also highlight that everyone in these homes is in a sense a visitor, because even when an artist is living there, they sleep there, they eat there, it is their home space, they still lack a certain degree of control in that space or privacy in that space. You never know how long you'll be there. You never know if you're allowed to paint the walls, what you're allowed to put up on the walls, if you're allowed to, have nails in the walls or access to push pins, access to decoration. It is your nest, but there's still sort of this temporary feeling to the space as far as the staff needs there, because they're in these homes because they do need a certain degree of support. So there are people there to support them all the time, which is at once necessary. And also, in a sense, thinking about it from my own perspective, to have a guest over all the time who has more control and autonomy in the space than you have in your own space, is in a sense hosting you while you are at the same time hosting them in your home. So we wanted to kind of point out that dynamic there that has been so normalized in these homes. And it is, again, absolutely not a problem. It's absolutely necessary. And it's the reason they exist. And also maybe not easy and maybe not always comfortable. So the performance that we came up with was that everyone who enters this exhibition has to label themselves as a visitor in that space. So when we visited ourselves, even during installation, we were wearing these tags because that space is now a home, but not our home.
It's really interesting. And it's, as somebody who likes my private time and likes quiet, like that would be, like you said, like there's a necessity to the experience, but like it would be very challenging to try to find your own voice and your own space, especially if you're trying to make art, which is what we're specifically speaking.
Right. And we did look a lot at the text, the poetics of space, and thinking about what space is for us, like what home is as artists. It's so much of, the sun coming through the window in a particular way that rustles the curtains or creates shadows on the wall, or, you have your cup of tea and you're gazing at your bookshelf, like these moments that may or may not be accessible or existing in these kinds of spaces where you may or may not be able to open the window as you choose, or choose the curtains. Again, like this is in no means a call to action necessarily to have that relationship change, because it's there for a reason, but to think about the consequences of that compromise.
Yeah, provide additional understanding for people who haven't had those experiences as well.
Exactly. And may be living next door to people who are having those experiences. So many of these residences are in the Corvallis community. They're in Albany, and they're on your block. Like you would never know.
Well, this exhibition is on display at the Art Center through November 22nd. You are always working on a new project with your artists, and there's always new things being planned and new creative endeavors that I always hear you guys are talking about. Can you talk a little bit about what's coming up next for the group or the organization as a whole? Is there anything you want to share with the community?
Absolutely. We actually have a few really exciting things coming up. Namely, we last week had a guest from the Haley Ford Museum in Salem, who is the curatorial head of collections there. And he made a massive purchase from our studio of about 20 artists. Amazing. And we don't know the final decisions yet, but we are very excited to announce that in the coming weeks.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we're so excited that the artists are getting that support, that the studio is getting that support and recognition. And that will be a collection appearing in an upcoming show in the new year, I think in January 2024 at the Haley Ford Museum, that will showcase neurodiverse artists from their permanent collection, of which we are now a pretty substantial part.
Oh, amazing.
And that is coming at the same time as expanding our program to Salem in the coming year. So we have a small space up there. We're in our first month of opening Living Studio Salem, and we're very hopeful that that program will grow and flourish, and that there will be more artists in our community that we can be collaborating with and supporting. So two very exciting things coming up.
Kelsey, thank you so much for your time and sharing what's going on at Living Studios and giving more insight to the exhibition currently at the Art Center.
My pleasure. It's been great to be here. Thank you.
Voices from Home is at the Art Center through November 22nd. It'll be on display through the next Corvallis Art Walk, so please stop by and see that. There's also a performance in conjunction with the show that'll be held on Tuesday, November 14th at 1:30 p.m. That'll be available online, and you'll be able to find the link on our website soon. Thank you for listening to TAC Makes. This is a new creative project at the Arts Center, and I hope you enjoy our learning curve as much as we do. You can find more episodes on YouTube and Spotify and on our website, theartscenter.net. That's arts with an S.